Okay, welcome back to the Zodiac trial. As we continue, Honse interrupt this. Snake walked away, continuing in his search. We're trying to solve the murder of Pig, who kinda got killed in plain sight, which is an interesting premise. I don't know if we know enough to actually make a reasonable assumption. We have our guesses based on meta-knowledge only, but I am not a fan of that guy. We got some information from him, though. Nothing useful, I'm afraid. You think? Did you hear anything useful? I guess not. You're so easily... If I didn't hear anything useful and you didn't hear anything useful, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that it wasn't useful. Hmm. What did we know? Thinking back from last time, Snake went into the men's locker room. Dragon went into the women's locker room. And Monkey went into a room between them. Does that account for their alibis? Now come on, let's go find Ox and Bunny. Moved over to the other end of the school and eventually found Ox and Bunny looking around an art studio. Ox, Bunny, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your movements. Interviewing witnesses, huh? Classic investigation move. Good work. I hope your search has been fruitful, seeing as you've prioritized it over finding trinkets. Oh, come off it, Ox. I was bad at finding trinkets anyways. Besides, if you really cared about figuring out who murdered Pig, the cop and the prosecutor would be doing the investigation, not us. Agreed, because I don't really care about that. I care about finding the minor trinkets. You seem to be really uninterested in this mystery. Almost as if you prefer we don't find out who the killer is. Okay, now you're just pulling cop show tactics. Mouse, are you honestly calling me a suspect? We're all suspects, Ox. I find it funny how you're so opposed to being called one. Of course I don't want to be suspected. Who would? You're just going to ask me about my movements during the suspected time of the crime, right? Fine then. When we first split up to input our actions, I went down the left hall. Whatever he was about to say got cut off with the deafening sound of a loud bang. That was a gunshot, if I had ever heard one. Oh god, please don't let anyone else turn up dead. Ah! A gunshot. From where? I think it came from the third floor, maybe? Quickly, we need to see where that came from. Mouse, wait up. I didn't. I rushed forward, determined to locate the source of the sound as soon as possible. I had to imagine someone was the recipient of the gun in this case. Depending on where the gun was aimed, the time to find the victim might be the difference between life and death. Up the stairs, up the stairs, up the stairs. I started rushing toward the third floor hallways, trying to look for any suspicious looking spots. Eventually, I ran across Monkey. Monkey, do you know anything about that gunshot? Maybe where it was fired? No, I'm just as surprised as you. I think it came from downstairs, though. Downstairs? Yeah, second or first floor. Second, then. Quickly, let's look. I shall hurry. Sheep told us it was... Was there a motive behind that, or was it just arbitrary guessing? Monkey sprinted ahead of me, surprisingly quick, in search of the elusive gunshot. Made my way down the other staircase, onto the second floor. I started spreading out, trying to find any sign of trouble. Instead, I heard Monkey shouting out for me, calling me over to the crime scene. Because of course it was a crime scene. What else could a sound like that lead to? There were no fireworks inside this building, so there really was only one option. Sure enough, lying dead on the ground, the body of a dragon was found lying in a classroom's doorway. At this point, I didn't even feel sorrow or panic. Looking at all these deaths had a numbing effect. All I felt was emptiness, a bitter sting for what might have been. Dragon wasn't the easiest to get along with, but something told me she had a really big heart. Something told me she would be sorely missed by some. Eventually, Bunny, Sheep, and Ox all made their way to the scene. And evidently my sprint had caught them all off guard, and none of them were exactly able to keep up. Not again! Not another! The mere sight of the body, Sheep started curling up and turning away. Almost absent-mindedly, she started wandering down the hallway, unable to take the sight of another corpse. Someone really should have gone after her to make sure she was safe. No one did. Dragon, huh? Thought she might try and confront the butcher, but to end up like this, it's sobering to see. It's expected to see at this point. How many people is this butcher gonna take from us? Why don't they show their face? Even though I hadn't realized it, Monkey had also begun to look unwell. Apologies, everyone, but I'd very much prefer not to be here. I'll keep looking for trinkets. And like that, she just walked away. Monkey. She was always so calm in our sessions, so steadfast. Seeing her freak out more than me, it really stopped me in my tracks. Was I becoming too numb to all this? No, focus. Not the time to be thinking about stuff like that. I should make sure she doesn't get in trouble. With this crazy killer, it's probably not safe to go off alone like that. I trust you two to take care of any detective work. Hold up a minute, you don't seriously expect me to let you go like this, do you? Why not? You don't suspect me, right? We were together ever since the start of the 5th round. You're right, but... Relax, I'll be fine. Without further discussion, Bunny walked away, leaving Ox alone with me. No concerns about sheep? This has well and truly become a total mess at this point. People are all over the place. The deaths are starting to get hard to track. It's not even worth looking over the scene. Why? What, do you really think there's anything to be solved at this point? You don't even know if this is the work of one culprit. Everyone's alibis and whereabouts are all over the place. There's almost no physical evidence. I just can't see how we're going to be able to find anything to narrow down who did it. You think like that? You certainly won't. Is that why you didn't bother investigating Pig's murder? I believe that there's no mystery humans can't solve if they put their minds to it. Aren't you the optimistic one? No, you're just pessimistic. Now come on. If you have time to complain, you have time to examine the scene. Fine. I guess it's worth noting Dragon's body is the first peculiarity. Dragon's body? I mean her cause of death. We heard a gunshot, so I expected someone to be shot. This is another case where the victim was stabbed in the neck. Don't know if it's relevant, but judging by the location, the victim's windpipe should have been punctured, meaning the death would be near instantaneous. That would definitely get blood on the perpetrator, so we can assume that they would have had to wash it off. Again, blood comes up as a pretty big clue determiner. It tends to be in crime investigation. I still don't know what to think of this blood situation with Pig's murder. Yes, someone could wash off blood off themselves, but that would take some time, wouldn't it? I guess Dog did it then. He has no alibi. Are you sure? That doesn't sit well with me. Then it must have been a suicide. And now you're just being ridiculous on purpose. Is it so ridiculous? There was no knife by the scene. Well, then where does that leave us? I don't know. That's what we have to figure out. What a joy. Moved in to examine the cut to Dragon's throat. Yep, it was definitely a knife cut. Didn't seem too clean, though. The killer definitely struggled with the slashing motion. This was probably made by the butcher's knife, right? Probably. There on the ground, there's a bullet shot right by Dragon's head. But not through it. Indeed. Perhaps we can take this as some sort of warning shot. Say the killer pushed Dragon to the ground, was holding a gun at her. Dragon made some sort of move. The killer fired right at the side of her head. Then for some reason the killer decided to cut things short with a knife. When you put it like that, it almost sounds like the killer was interrogating Dragon, trying to get information out of her. What could that be? Who knows? I pushed the door fully open with a shove, and I noticed what looked like water drip down. Drip down? Didn't make much sense to me at first, but then I realized where it came from. Got on my tiptoes and pressed my hand to the top of the door. Sure enough, the very top of the door seemed to be wet. Wet. Yeah, wet. Huh. I have no idea what that could mean. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe. But seeing how water tends to evaporate, I don't think that's the case. And how on earth is it relevant? I don't know, it just is, probably. I'm not convinced. Good for you. Any other bright observations you want to dismiss? Are there? Let's see. Okay, this could be nothing, but this isn't an arts and crafts classroom, right? Right. And why is there a bundle of string over there? Oh, where? There, right between the tape dispenser and pencil sharpener. Oh, I see it now. I don't know, it could be used for weird math measurements, maybe some student's project. I think you're the one reaching for straws now. I guess. Done with the investigation, we should get out of here. Staying in a room with a dead person is giving me the creeps. Agreed. Come on, come, we can have a discussion in the hallway. I feel like we don't know anything more than we did when we started this thing. Thought you were supposed to be the optimist. I'm the realist. I really think we're boned. I agree. At this point, it might just be more effective to just find enough trinkets and stay as a group. So that's it? We just give up on thinking? It was your suggestion. I know. It's a bad one. We can't give up. The butcher's identity. When we put together all the clues, it's got to give us an answer. Oh, then enlighten me. Who should we be afraid of? Let's look at this logically. Horse was shot at the beginning of the game. Pig was choked to death some point after we all split up to input our moves for the 4th round. Dragon was then stabbed sometime after that. You and Bunny had been together ever since the group got back together, so there's no possible way either of you could have killed Dragon. And of course, I'm not the killer. And if we trust Brian, then there should only be 12 people in this building. Given all the available suspects, all the clues found at the relevant crime scenes, the alibis of the people involved, and the motivation behind that piece of evidence, I think only one person fits the butcher's MO. That would be... Oh boy. It's a hell of a choice to get thrown at us. That piece of evidence. Wait. Snake. Snake. Think about it. He's been acting creepily and suspicious the whole time. Exactly the profile of an intellectual who oddly knows quite a bit about guns and is polite but bloodthirsty. If anyone was to be a secret killer, it'd be him. He also doesn't have an alibi for when Dragon was attacked. He also claimed he didn't see Pig's body behind that pillar, but that whole mystery would be solved if he was lying about that. He inputted his move in the bathroom, so he could have washed off any blood after stabbing Pig there. Think about Horse's death. When could he have done that? He was the first one in the cafeteria. He didn't leave it until long after we had found Horse's body. A lot of other people have missing spots in their alibi for when they could have killed Horse, but not Snake. That's an impossibility. I guess you're right. I was a little trigger-happy with my accusation there. I'm going to try and gather everyone once again in the cafeteria. Might be a fruitless effort, but I've got to at least try. Care to join me? I think I want to sit down and think about things for a bit. Go on ahead without me. Suit yourself. Bad end time. I sat down to mull over all the evidence. It just wasn't adding up in my head. Over and over again, I kept going back to one piece of evidence that stood out to me. The water on top of the door. What possible use could that have? I couldn't answer that. Then I heard footsteps approaching. I tensed up. Then I relaxed. It wasn't anyone to be scared of. Oh, it's you. You know, you shouldn't be wandering around the school alone at this point. It's become really dangerous. It was as I said this when I saw the knife being pulled out. Oh. It suddenly clicked with me. I realized what had happened. I realized how dumb I had been. I could have tried to run away, to resist, but I was just so frozen by the stunning realization of the butcher's true identity that I just let my throat be slashed across, blood flying everywhere. Blood flying onto the killer's face, blood onto the floor. Blood was all I can see. Then I couldn't. 90 diamonds. Wow, we're getting some really morbid-looking After the one who inherited the butcher's knife kills enough secretly, Mouse will be compelled to solve the murders. However, if she's not able to identify who the culprit is in time, the butcher is likely to make her a target sooner rather than later. This level of reasoning may be beyond Mouse's capabilities, but let's try to see what lies beyond here, shall we? Oh, that's like a funny person being stabbed. Thought it might have been like a elephant. Here's face, here's the eye, here's the trunk. Ooh! I don't know what that is. That's hand stab. Blah. Dead. Okay, simple enough. Let us apply our meta-knowledge then. Sheep? Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's gotta be sheep. It's unbelievable, I know. I don't know why she'd do it, but she's our butcher. Why? I'll explain everything in a minute, but first I want to meet up with Sheep. Let's try and find her. That'll settle everything once and for all. Okay, if you say so. I trust you. I'd say... I wonder if we wouldn't even get that as an option if we hadn't brought her with us to go look for Horse. We walked through the school looking for Sheep. Eventually we ran across Monkey, who offered to join us. We accepted. Seeing as we were about to confront the killer, I didn't mind the extra backup. As I looked for her, I couldn't help but despair. I didn't know Sheep, sure, but she seemed so meek, so nice. I didn't think she could hurt a fly. So how then could she go on a killing spree like this? I needed to know. Eventually we found her curled up in a classroom on the first floor. Mouse! Honse! Monkey! What are you all doing here? Sheep, I don't want to waste time or play games. This is a dead serious matter, one I just don't have it in me to joke about. Why did you kill Dragon, kill Pig, kill Horse? Please tell me. Mouse? What are you talking about? I would never. I could never. You're not going to fool me, Sheep. I suggest you just confess now. Confess to what? Mouse, I don't know what you're talking about. It's going to have to be like this then, isn't it? Very well, I'll make you confess. Then I'll make you explain yourself. Make me confess? You're going to torture me? Please, I'm innocent, I swear. I'm not going to torture you, Sheep. Maybe this will be like torture to you if you still have any conscience. No, I'm going to prove why you have to be the killer. Go ahead, I'd love to hear your reasoning. Very well then, let's start with the matter of Horse's death. While I can't prove anything, there's one element that we haven't paid attention to that keenly points the suspicion in your direction. And what would that be? I don't actually know. What Sheep said? What did I say? You don't remember? No? You said, and I quote, I just killed Horse. I didn't say that. Oh, didn't you? No. In a metaphorical sense, though. Oh my god. I didn't say anything like that. Shoot, I really thought that was going to work. Seriously, Mouse. Mouse, you don't really think it's me, right? That's why you're struggling to think clearly. Because in your heart, you recognize I would never do something so horrible as murder. She slowly started to approach me. I should have been worried, but she was so pitiful, so desperate, so sad that I wasn't thinking straight. Could she really be the culprit? Sure, it made sense to me, but I was just an amateur. Was I wrong? Mouse, please think things through. Thought we were, well, we could be friends. We can still be friends, right? That's... Just as I started to respond, Sheep lunged forward at me. She hugged me. She hugged me with one hand, stabbed something through my chest with the other. Couldn't see it, but I could guess. Before I even knew what was happening, the hand that had stabbed me went to her pocket, and Sheep pulled out a gun. Using me as a cover, she shot at Ox and Monkey in quick succession. I heard two shouts. 2 bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the... I couldn't tell what had happened, but it couldn't have been a pretty. With a weak shove, I lost balance and fell onto the floor. Pain from the stabbing was severe, but peanuts to the pain I felt when Sheep pulled the knife out of my chest. Gotta make sure. She walked over behind my line of sight. My muddled and pain-racked brain couldn't tell for what purpose at first, but then I heard Ox's howl and the sound of metal entering flesh. Then heard Sheep walking over to the other side of the room. You... What Monkey was doing to fight back wasn't enough. The sound alone put the image of a clean, brutal slash into my mind. Then Sheep walked back into my field of vision. Sorry. You. Don't blame me. An instant, Sheep bent down and slashed at me. But this horizontal swipe wasn't aimed at my throat. This one was aimed at my eyes. Holy shit. I died blind, but able to see things how they truly were for the first time. Goddamn, girl. That was brutal. If Mouse confronts Sheep with her sins, Sheep will try and appeal to Mouse to say it couldn't be her. Mouse will need to be ironclad in her will, backed up with solid reasoning. If she falters for but a moment, Sheep will use that hesitation as an opportunity to strike. That is the mark of the butcher. Fucking brutal, dude. Holy shit. What's that have to do with anything? It has a lot to do with things, actually. Because when you look at it, not a lot of people could have killed Horse. Tiger was guarding weapons, Ox and Snake returned very quickly, and Pig and Rooster were with me the whole time. Also, Dragon and Bunny arrived together. But that doesn't mean they were necessarily together all that time before that. It certainly makes it less likely either had the time to kill Horse. You, however, arrived on your own after quite a bit of time. It's a very suspicious thing, I have to say. It doesn't prove anything. No, I think it's a pretty big indicator. If you had given it any amount of thought at the time, it would have been concluded that the main suspects should have been you, Monkey, and Dog. But fine, you won't take that as evidence. Fair enough. Let's move on to Pig's death. When was Pig killed? This is an important question. This is the one that I don't understand 100%. You killed Pig when the 4th round results were being displayed, didn't you? What? Everyone was scattered around the cafeteria and everyone's eyes were in one place. It would have been easy to slip away and kill Pig then. A mouse. I'll admit it's possible that when everyone was distracted by that, she might have been able to slip away from the crowd. I don't think everyone was so distracted that they let a murder happen right behind their backs. Okay, that's wrong. Rewind. You killed Pig when everyone left to input actions for the 4th round. In fact, you had already input your action, didn't you? I did? Yeah, you did. I thought it was strange how no one I talked to saw where either you or Pig went to input their actions. That's because neither of you actually left the cafeteria, isn't that right? As everyone started to walk away, you called her over into the kitchen, saying you had something important to say to her. That's where you killed her. But Mouse, her body was found behind that pillar. Yeah, but there was no blood on the floor behind that pillar, despite the knife clearly spilling a lot of blood. It was actually stabbed in the kitchen, and you just wiped away the blood there. Isn't that right? As you just said, the killer would have gotten a bunch of blood on themselves. I don't have any blood on me. I never had a chance to clean up in a restroom. There wasn't enough time, and other people were occupying the main ones. I said blood would spill out. I didn't say blood had to get on the killer. What are you talking about, Mouse? There's actually a way to stab someone to death without getting any blood on you, from behind. Before luring Pig over to the kitchen, you already had the necessary tools in your pocket. Kitchen knife, which is the actual murder weapon. A bunch of napkins to wipe away the blood. A handful of plastic What? Plastic baggies? The same plastic baggies found in that very kitchen. When was that a thing? You told Pig to look at something, maybe to bend down. When was this a thing that was ever referenced anywhere? And you quickly stuffed both your hands into plastic baggies, turning them into makeshift gloves. Behind you, you brought the kitchen, the knife around Pig's body, and with both hands you violently pulled inwards, fatally stabbing her. As she cried out, you moved both your covered hands over her mouth to silence her. It sure got a lot of blood on her clothes, but it only spilled onto your hands, which were being covered by plastic bags. Then you put both the plastic bags on your hands and the knife into a third plastic bag, and began quickly wiping away most of the blood with napkins. When you wiped away enough to hide the crime scene at a glance, you put the bloody napkins in that bag, then hid that bag of evidence in your pocket. With that taken care of, you promptly exited the kitchen like nothing happened. If you were efficient, the whole thing could take less than 2 minutes. Mouse, that's totally ridiculous. I thought you said Pig was strangled to death. I couldn't do that. No, Sheep, that's just what you wanted me to think. In truth, you just choked her neck after she was dead, didn't you? Mouse, that's possibly plausible, if incredibly risky. If I understand correctly, a core mystery was how the body ended up behind a certain pillar, correct? I do not believe this explanation accounts for that. I haven't. Because Sheep wasn't done taking risks. You see, we were quite scattered throughout the cafeteria when the 4th round results began to be displayed. Those results drew everyone's attention to one place. Sheep, who had been sitting in the back of the cafeteria, was able to take advantage of this distraction. She quickly and quietly walked over to the kitchen and simply dragged Pig's body from behind the kitchen door to behind the pillar. There's no way I could do all that. Oh, but you could. It's possible, I'll grant you. But it's incredibly risky. Why would Sheep go through all that trouble? Murder's a risky business, Ox. There's always a chance things could go wrong. She smartly realized that if people kept dying, there'd be some who wanted to investigate things. And she also realized that if we stopped for a second to think about Honse's murder, she'd already be under incredible scrutiny, due to the fact that she was one of the few people without an alibi. And in fact, I'm willing to bet if we had ever dug even deeper into that, there'd have been some damning evidence which proved it was her. Our only chance to get out of this was to cause a murder so confusing that our attention was diverted. And a murder this confusing would sow chaos, giving her more opportunities to attack us one by one. Ugh, so what? Mouse, you've just been bullying me this whole time without any evidence. Where's your evidence? Show me some evidence. I'm getting there. Really? Then how about we get to Dragon's murder, eh? How are you gonna explain that? She's getting more combative. Because I was with you the whole time when that happened. Not entirely true. When Mouse rushed off, we all chased behind her. However, we were far from a unified front. Now that I think about it, I don't think I saw you for a while there. You easily could have slipped away to commit murder. Maybe. I would have had nearly enough time to wash the blood off myself, right? Plus, Mouse only started running because the real killer had just fired a pistol at Dragon. You're half right, Sheep. You would have had enough time to wash the blood off. That's because you didn't need to. Because you employed a very nasty trick with this murder. Truth of the matter is. Okay, this one I think I know. This one I think I get. Gun was made to fire on its own. Made to fire on its own? That's not possible. What are you talking about? String, water on the top of the door. You didn't find a bucket or anything. It actually is. In fact, it just requires a very simple tool also found in the cafeteria. A tool I found at the scene of the crime. Mouse, what are you talking about? We didn't find anything at the scene of the crime. We found something all right. Water. Or should I say, ice? 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 The contraption was simple. Using the string we found sitting in the classroom, the tape dispenser, some ice, and the gun. It wouldn't be difficult to make a contraption where the gun would fire on its own after an unknown amount of time. Simply wrap one end of the string around the gun's trigger, and tape the other end to the top of the door frame. Set the gun precariously on top of the door, using ice as a platform. What? Gun's trigger. Door frame. We put it in the right place. As the ice melts, the gun would be liable to fall down, causing the string to pull the trigger and the gun to fire wildly. With that sort of thing, there'd be absolutely no control over where the gun fired. True, but she probably felt that she could work with whatever result. She'd set Dragon's body up in some way where it's plausible the shot could have been aimed at her. Then how could she know where Dragon would be? She knew because Dragon was already dead. What? Dragon was actually killed as early as when we were looking for Pig. Remember, no one ever saw her since. She did? I imagine Sheep convinced Dragon to go along with her in the search. Was that mentioned? Dragon came along. Her cross is crass, but I think she was the type to protect someone like Sheep. And when they got to that classroom, Sheep stabbed Dragon from behind with a knife. Hold a minute, if that happened, blood would get everywhere. Normally, yes. However, remember the cause of death this time. It was a cut windpipe, not blood loss. Meaning the knife didn't actually have to be removed from the wound right away. Most blood comes out when the weapon is pulled out of the body, so whatever blood specks did appear were likely very minimal. She dragged Dragon's body inside the classroom and prayed that no one would bother checking that room. Then she set up her gun ploy and left. That's probably around the time when I found Dragon's body. No. Quit it, enough, give me real evidence. Sheep couldn't have been sure when the gun would fire, so she decided to make sure she'd have an alibi no matter what. She volunteered to help me within the investigation of Pig's death. Then eventually the gun fired. There was one trick to Sheep's plan she needed to be the first to find the body. That's why she implemented a double layer of subterfuge. She said, I think the shot came from the 3rd floor. Since we were in a panic, we took that guess as gospel truth and all made our way that way. Except you didn't, did you? You ran over, yanked the gun and string away, dragged Dragon to a suitable location near where the gun was fired, and pulled the knife out. All in all, if you were efficient about it, this cleanup could last as quick as a minute, maybe even quicker. Good thing you moved fast. Guessing just as you exited down one hallway, Monkey was running towards the body from the other. No evidence, not real evidence. That could be anybody. Would anybody stand to gain from such a setup? Seeing as there's no other reasonable explanation for why the top of the door would be wet like that, I'm confident in my theory on how the gun was fired. And Sheep, you were the only one who benefited from an alibi at the time that shot went off. Well, I guess Ox, Buddy, and I all did as well, but we all can't be the culprit. So how about it, Sheep? Who else could it be but you? How do you know the shot was fired to gain an alibi, huh? You can't prove that, can you? I can. Oh, we didn't hear a gun fired. In the case of Honse's death, we didn't hear the gunshot. Why? I'm guessing this pistol had a silencer on it. That's my only explanation. In that case, why wasn't the silencer on in this case? I can only imagine it was to make sure people heard this shot. You're not proof, not evidence. Oh? You still deny it? What could possibly make you confess at this point? Evidence! I could respond, Sheep started to move. She started to pull something out of her pocket. At this point, I was expecting it. Moved gracefully toward her. Just as she pulled the gun out, I grabbed that hand and pushed it away. Since I had closed the distance, I used that momentum to knee her right in the stomach. She fell to the ground, but that didn't stop her. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a dagger, but at this point I had already grabbed the pistol which had fallen on the floor and aimed it at her. As for evidence, I figured you probably still had that gun on you after you collected it from the scene of Dragon's death. Of course, if you were really smart, you might have just hid it somewhere nearby. If you had let me search you and I hadn't found this, they would have started to question if I was really right. But now, it's over, Sheep. Just admit it. I'm not. Quit looking at me like that. It's not my fault. It's not my... I just wanted to survive. Please stop it. Cut it out. From there, Sheep burst into tears. No one in the room felt any pity for her. Could we? After all, she had killed 4 people in the span of a single day. All we did was wait for her to compose herself, to explain herself, to talk about why she had done what she did. I thought splitting up to look for trinkets was dangerous. I wanted a better idea, where there wasn't the chance for things to go wrong. Then I realized we didn't need to look for minor trinkets. We could use the ones we had. We just all used our abilities in the right order. Everyone could make it to the finish line, and no person would be able to get far ahead of the group. We'd stick together in one room, with Tiger as a guard, and take turns inputting our designated move. But I realized that the math didn't quite work. There were too many people whose abilities didn't move fast enough. And I remembered I had the sheep's clothing. We had found it, Mouse. Oh. What did the sheep's clothing have to do with anything? Did you try and copy Horse's personality? If I had Horse's ability, things would work out. Oh. I didn't think about it much, I just acted, without consulting the group. I used it and became a copy of Horse. But then, not only had my action changed, but so did my personality. I was now a copy of Horse. I had the determined personality. What? I realized this in the same room when I found a hidden pistol. I was freaking out, but then the announcement played on the pad. Butcher's knife. Was it Horse? I walked out of my room, and I saw Horse standing there. He was holding it. He wasn't looking at me, and I panicked. Then before I knew it, I just fired. I killed him. I tried to hide it, but Dog came across the scene, and there was an argument. She started to mumble. She wasn't meeting any of our eyes. We could finish the story for ourselves. Dog, the unseen victim. If I didn't do something, everyone would blame me for those murders. But if I was the only witness, I'm pathetic. Sheep. So really, this was just one big accident. Don't give her that much credit. In the end, she just chose to put her own life above ours, and in so, committed murder. It's sad, but it's not an excuse. Did you think she should have simply accepted her fate? Accept death? Not many have that conviction. She did accept death. The deaths of every single other person in this school. Don't get me wrong, I can see where she's coming from in all this, but I have no trouble sympathizing. I do sympathize with her. I really do, but Sheep, even in that situation, what you did was wrong. She didn't speak after that. None of us did. Sheep didn't even try to escape. She probably knew it was pointless. Eventually, Snake wandered into that room. We explained the situation to him. He accepted it pretty easily. Bunny, too, after some time passed, found us and joined us in the wait. We input our actions for the 5th round, going one at a time. The group was talking about what to do next, but Sheep just sat silently. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, Sheep began to talk. I didn't used to stay to myself. You wouldn't think it, but I was actually a rebel when I was younger. You are right, I would not think it. A real troublemaker. I had a number of friends. I thought it was cool how I had a really bad reputation in my neighborhood. Mostly I just wanted to emulate my 2 older sisters. What? What are you talking about all of a sudden? I kinda hated them because they were often mean to me. They used to blame me for everything. But they were cool, so I wanted to be just like them. Then one day my parents left me in charge, let me look over my younger brother. I was such a good kid. That's why I disliked him. What? But he was such a good kid? In fact, I hated him, but I never wanted. I thought he was smart enough that he didn't need me looking over him. I even let him take a bath by himself. Then my older sisters called. I don't know why, just to tease me, I guess. They were really annoying. When we got into a heated argument, I completely wasn't paying attention. And I heard a thud. I don't know what was going through Smith's smart brain that made him think that running right after getting out of the bathtub was a good idea. I don't know what made him run. I guess I'll never know, but I can guess. It's probably because he was still a little kid. Because I was supposed to look after him, and I didn't. It's his fault that he ran. It's my fault that I didn't watch. It's my parents' fault for trusting me. It's no one's fault that the slip ended up being at just the right angle to have him fall down the stairs. To have him twist his neck like that. The funeral was soon after. Sheep. You know the first thing I tried to do? Blame it on my older sisters. That was only natural. After all, the first thing they did was try to blame it on me. My mom wasn't hearing any of it. She wasn't hearing anything. She was onset by 2 fronts. On the one hand, the grief of losing her only son was wrecking her mind. On the other, she had to deal with a thunderstorm of rumors. Those rumors of the accident, how this troubled, disturbed kid was the only one around when the brother she hated slipped to his death. The atmosphere in the neighborhood around me took a serious turn. At best, I had let my older brother die. My brother die. At worst, I had made him die. It was horrible. I was in middle school at the time. There I turned my behavior around. Became an honor student. Cleanest of the clean. Determined to live a virtuous life. Determined to not give any credence to the rumors which haunted and corrupted my parents. Didn't help much. When the news made its way to my school, life became hellish. Kids like to believe the more fun versions of stories. It was more fun if I killed him. And the worst bullies are the ones who think their victims deserve it. Come college time, I couldn't move far enough. My whole life, I'd been sure to never give people a reason to blame me. My father moved on, but my mother never truly recovered from her son's death. She still doesn't know what to think of it. If I ever gave her reason to believe I might have, she'd sooner die than believe that. That's my sin, isn't it, Brian? Brian? After Mr. Bowen was killed in that awful, terrible murder, I was one of the first suspects. Oh. Of course I was. After all, I was his secretary. I was there at the time of the murder. I was the one who found the collapsed security guard, the one who called the cops. I was the one with the biggest holes in my alibi, the one with all the keys, the one who knew him the best. Eventually my innocence was proven, but before that I was deathly afraid I might be labeled a murderer in all this. Even that rumor got back. When the cops asked me about Mr. Morris, told me that they were looking to make a case against him, I threw him as far under the bus as I could. Anything he might have known about, he knew about. Any grudge he might have had against Mr. Bowen, he had it. Any character flaws he might have possessed, he had that and more. I believe that it was largely my depiction of him, which made the cops so sure they had the right man. And that's why you put me through all this, isn't it, Brian? Unexpectedly, a voice came across on the speakers. So you admit that you slandered my father? Defiled his name, handed the police the noose. I didn't lie about a single thing in my testimony about those events, and your father wasn't a perfect angel. I only exaggerated, never created. And Brian, though you hate to admit it, it's clear that your father was in fact the person who killed Mr. Bowen. The evidence was overwhelming. But yes, I admit it. I'm responsible for getting him executed, and for that, I'm sorry. I'll never forget October 11th, the day this all started, when you think about it. Well, October 11th. 10/11? Is that our code for the computer? We all waited for a while for the Jade Emperor's response. None came. Instead, after a time, Sheep made a request. Mouse, can you kill me? What? I want you to kill me. Right here. Right now. Why? I know what's bound to happen. It'll be an execution. The way Brian described it, it sounds awfully slow and painful. I'm a coward, Mouse. I don't want that. We don't know that for sure. Maybe there's a way for you to survive. There isn't. I feel like I've been controlled by that past all my life. Now I feel nothing. Just end it. That's not... Even if you messed up, you don't deserve to die. You don't deserve to die. I'm pretty sure a serial murder of 4 is worth a death penalty in most states. If this were taken to court, I doubt it. The circumstances are bizarre, but there are plenty of mitigating factors. At the very least, I'd imagine you'd get life in prison before a death penalty. I know I'm being selfish here, Mouse, but please. Just let me go peacefully. One gunshot to the head is all it takes. I looked to the others, hoping for their input. I think that we could all use a little forgiveness, right? She wants to be shot, let her be shot. Then you do it. True, however this raises an interesting moral quandary. Even if she will die anyway, to shoot her would be to kill her yourself. It can be psychologically damaging. I will do it then. I've always wanted to try it. Morally, I'd say it's on par with assisted euthanasia. Honestly, I don't think it matters much one way or the other, though that may be a cold reading of the situation. Shoot sheep? No, I see. Then I'll do it. No one deserves that execution the Jade Emperor was talking about. No, no one's shooting her. I don't care what the speakers say, that's murder. Guess you really hated me at the end, Mouse. I guess that's fair. Then leave. I didn't dare meet her eyes. I just exited the room, and the group followed. No one entered that room for the rest of the race. Sheep stayed there, though, lying there, empty. She waited for her inevitable end. Everyone gathered in the cafeteria. Rooster finally found the group. Apparently he had been obliviously searching for trinkets this whole time and found a few. That didn't really matter anymore. We all used the trinkets and moved as a group. At one point, Tiger left the group. She didn't explain herself, but no one felt like following her. We all know why she took her leave. Just wanted her final moments to herself. We had to respect that. Eventually all the survivors crossed the line together. And the Jade Emperor announced our victory. He also announced the defeat of Sheep and Tiger. 2 collars activated throughout the building. It was a very silent experience. I don't know if a cumulative 100 words passed among the group since leaving Sheep's room. At least we were alive, right? That had to count for something. In the end, myself, Ox, Bunny, Snake, Monkey, and Rooster escaped. Half survived, but half died for very poor reasons. It all felt empty. Guess that was the Jade Emperor's goal. Well then, good work, Brian. You dick. 9 of spades. Nothing is found in the first 3 rounds but the sheep pad. With the sheep pad, trinkets, and weapons, Horse will be assigned a role that forces him to act. Furthermore, if Sheep does not trust the group, she will go on her own and come up with a plan. Ah. Without telling anyone else, she will enact her plan, and that will lead to ruin. It's highly unlikely Sheep will be able to win as a traitor. However, she is prone to rash judgments and risky play. Very unpredictable. From the start, this line of action may be too unreliable. Well, I'll be damned. Before we talk about that, I'll do it. Mouse, are you sure? I am. Thank you, Mouse. You always were nice to me. I'm not sure about that, but I'm glad. I'm sorry, everyone. Maybe this will make things right. More death never makes things right. I see. Then go ahead and shoot. First time I realized just how heavy the pistol was in my hands was. It was a slow, nervous process. Readying the gun. Aiming it. Right at her brain, I pointed it. Then, goodbye, Sheep. Afterwards, the group left the room. No one wanted to look at that. Everyone gathered in the cafeteria. And Rooster showed up, the big, gormless idiot. And that's it. Okay. There's one thing I wanted to see. I forgot what the save is. No. I'm sorry, Sheep. I don't think you should come with us. Oh. Okay, if you say so. Really? You're letting it go just like that? Thought I was going to get some resistance to that. With that, things were set. People had objections with giving out a gun, but we were granted a taser just in case. We had left the cafeteria and started to look around the school for Dog and Horse. Yeah, 2nd floor. Blood in the textbooks. Dog in the closet. Just out of curiosity, I want to see... window blinds. Now how on earth could the window blinds have anything to do with the body? Just hear me out. Look, see how those windows have these metal bulge shades to pull the blinds up and down, right? Yeah, that's fairly common. What of it? Look at this one, it's missing the chain. Huh, that is weird. I'm still not seeing the point. Don't you think that something like that could set up the body to look like this? No, but I'm hoping you do. I do. It's like, I think it'd be best if I could just draw it out. What? Oh shit, this is actually something. Walked over to the classroom's whiteboard, picked up a marker, and began to illustrate my point. This is how the body and the door were initially, see? You're a rubbish artist. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were at an art gala. You get what I'm drawing, right? Then it works. I'm sorry, please continue. Thank you. Now if you loop the metal chains around Horse's arms and put them over the door frame, you have something that looks like this. Killer then exits to the other side of the door and pulls. Body then leans up against the door, all from outside. Okay, that kind of works, but look, the door isn't completely closed. There's still the metal chain. What do you do about that? It's not perfect, I grant you, but if you pull on one end of each of the chains, you'll pull them through the crack. At that point, the weight of the body would push the door completely closed. Movement of the door at that point is negligible. Suppose that would accomplish this effect. Not bad. However, I fail to see the point of any of it. I don't know, maybe it was meant to throw us off or something. Okay, so the door mystery solved. What behind Horse's back? Behind his back? Why yes, to solve how this was done, simply look behind Horse's back and the door. Rather, try to look behind Horse's back and the door. Alright. Ox moved to do just that. Little did he know this would be a fruitless effort. I believe you'll find the task rather difficult. After all, our conniving killer used some glue and glued the back of Horse's shirt to the door. Thus when they closed the door after leaving, so too did the body move, blocking the doorway impossibly. Okay, Mouse is just throwing shit out there then. Neat idea, not correct. Huh? Really? Yeah, it doesn't seem to be any glue here. Are you sure? You don't think there's maybe some sort of glue that goes away after a time or something? I think you should just cut your losses on this one and admit you're as stumped as me. Darn it, I really thought I had it here. Don't be too upset over it. Shot Horse and now he's dead. I do like that, though. No! How unfortunate. Oh. Does this change anything going forward? We're still investigating. And that still takes us here. And yeah, that just still takes us here. Okay, that doesn't actually affect things here. Nothing has changed. Alright. I think that's everything we have to see from Sheep's route then. Okay, I think the best part about this route was the reveal of the thought process and the reveal as far as why Sheep is killing everyone. That was genuinely well done. That was the biggest oh shit moment of this round, I think. It's just, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Sheep was trying to plan a way to win with what they have. And then next thing, in the process of that, she figures that she's gotta, if she had a Horse's ability, she could make their plan work. She gets Horse's ability, then she realizes, oh shit, I'm determined. Beyond that, ultimately, I guess we could put her into the realm of, like, pig adjacent in terms of I'm afraid to die, so Horse had a giant knife, I found a gun. If I kill enough people, I can not die. Although the one part that I'm struggling to grasp here is believing her as a brutal murderer while still maintaining her attitude. It didn't really break from her usual attitude whatsoever, really. Can you believe that she was desperate enough to survive, that she went and, say, Honse? She shot in a fit of panic after hearing the butcher knife announcement and seeing him with the butcher knife. Dog discovered her with the butcher knife and the gun, and Honse's body. So, fit of panic, things happen there. Pig's kill was deliberate, and so was Dragon's. And that's where things start to get a little, I don't know. And let's think about her backstory there for a minute, too. I mean, I could say that I guess part of me wonders if her backstory was meant to justify how she'd be capable of doing murders like this. Because she used to be a bad girl. She used to be very dragon-like, and then reformed. When she got her brother killed, inadvertently. That's the kind of thing that feels like only reformed her out of fear. So I think that'd be deeply traumatizing to the point where acting out at all whatsoever would be like some kind of bad trigger for her. Or even thinking that she was acting out on her own, being like the way she used to be, would send her into a fit of panic. I guess I can buy into that. That made her the way she is now. I guess the thing I find not fully formed is she was cold and calculating and efficient. Certainly unpredictable, but if it really happened the way that mouse says, where she like meticulously cleaned up all of the seams and got the drop on all of her victims in a way where she made minimal mess, that's either some luck or some fucking skill that I never would have thought it could come from her, but I still enjoyed it mostly. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as others that we've had, but it's still interesting in its own right. But perhaps most importantly, pretty sure we got the code we need to go back and do Mouse's Vat now. Find out what's on the computer. That will be next time. So until then.